built in Texas. This is a K24 Honda Accord. It's a 2003. And if we take this K24 crank pulley off and put it on my K20, it will increase the boost. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this crank pulley off of this engine, and I'll explain some more. Welcome to Texas Honda Channel. I pray blessings over each and every one of you. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button and turn that bell icon on to get notified of every video upload. So we are going to be taking a K24 crank pulley out of a 2003 Accord K24 engine and putting it on this K20 supercharged setup, which will give us more boost. Then we will be taking it back to the dyno to see how much more power it makes. I did the video last night of putting the pulley on. I'll show you that here in just a second, but before we get started with that, we're going to be doing Proverbs 3 verse 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. This has rang true in my whole life. I started submitting more to God and being more about him, and things just started getting better. My attitude, my temper is not as bad anymore, and things are just going good. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect in any way, shape, or form. I'm a sinner just like the rest of you guys and needing salvation. I say this out of love, not hate, not to condemn. If anyone ever has any questions about this stuff, feel free to message me on Instagram, instagram.com/Texas Honda Channel. There's a lot of troubled people in my comments section. I'm reaching out to you guys particularly, but if you are already on the righteous path and you get lost and stumble, feel free to shoot me a message. I'm here for you guys. I love you guys. But we're going to go ahead and get into the video parts I took last night, so I hope you guys enjoy. Basically just going to get in there, get that crank pulley out, and once I get it out, we will measure, and I will show you how to measure these using this and that math that you probably never thought you would use, pi 3.14. So I'm going to go ahead and get that crank pulley off. I really hope you guys enjoy this video. All right, so the first thing I'm doing is heating up the actual bolt. This will help loosen it up. I wish I could have done this at the salvage yard, but they don't allow torches in there. People just aren't responsible enough to not blow things up. But yeah, so I'm heating up the bolt. I want to be very careful because this does have rubber in this pulley. If I do need to use this pulley again, I want to make sure that it's usable. So I'm just heating up the bolt to expand the metal. Then I am going to be shoving this bolt in the flywheel. So I'm going to show you that here in just a second. Okay, the crank pulley bolt is nice and heated up. Under here you can see we have a racing flywheel. Took a little cover off, you can see the flywheel there. And I put that big thick bolt. It fits perfectly in those grooves, in that little hole, and it's thick enough on the flywheel this will not damage anything. I've done this before many times on different setups, never had a problem doing it. Or you can stick a screwdriver in the flywheel teeth and wedge it to a stopping point, and then you can break it loose. I highly recommend using the actual tool for these crank pulleys, or harmonic balancers, whatever you want to call them, because this will be the best option. But since I don't have that right now, this is what we're going to do. Okay, upon closer inspection, we can see that front main seal is actually leaking a little bit. And it looks like at some point something was rubbing against the timing case, but I'll definitely clean that up and keep an eye on it. I do need to get a new front seal for that, so fix that leak. But yeah, we're going to go measure the pulleys. Okay, we've got both harmonic balancers next to each other, crank pulleys, whatever you want to call them. We've got the K24A8, which you can tell is just slightly larger than the K20A2. We are going to measure them. This one's still a bit warm, so we'll measure this one first, let that cool down some more. You're just going to basically get some tape. We're going to start in one spot. We'll just start right here. Anywhere is fine. We'll keep it in the grooves all the way around, making sure it's pulled nice and tight. That way you've got a good measurement here. I mean, that's close enough. So what we're going to do now, go ahead and pull this tape off and lay it out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and measure the tape from end to end, and we've got 18.5. So this is 18.5 inches. So what we're going to do, all right, what we're going to do is go 18 0.5, divide that by 3.14, which is pi, and we've got 5.89 inches. So this is pretty close to a 6-inch pulley. So we're going to do that same thing to this one. All right. All right, this one is 17 1/4. 17.25 divided by 3.14 equals 5.49. So this one is almost a 1/2 inch bigger, which should result in a decent bump of boost. There was someone saying that some of the K-Series pulleys are actually 7 inches. There's a 7-inch pulley out there, which would definitely bump it up, probably 12 PSI. So definitely interesting to make a note of. So we're going to reinstall this one. Make sure to keep track of the keyway, and we're going to use the bolt that was originally with this pulley. Make sure everything fits. But yeah, we're going to go to the car. I went ahead and cleaned up all of this with brake clean and a rag. Looks a lot better. We can definitely see where it's leaking from after this is all cleaned. So when reinstalling this, make sure to put the keyway in first. It's easier that way, for me at least. Then we slide it right on there. Making sure the belt's not behind it. Okay. And with this bolt, you're supposed to torque it down to 36 foot-pounds plus an extra 90 degrees. If you don't know what that means, once the torque wrench clicks, I go for 90 more degrees. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. Normally I just hit it with the impact and tighten it down that way, put a ton of force with the breaker bar, and I never have an issue. So if you guys want to torque them, I highly recommend torquing them, but just tightening the crap out of them works really well too. I'm just going to be honest with you. All right, I got it torqued with the torque wrench to 36 foot-pounds at about right here. So I'm going to go 90 more degrees. And instead of using this, because it's kind of hard to get leverage with that torque wrench, I'm actually going to use the breaker bar, get more leverage with it. So I'm just going to be putting an extra 90 degrees on it now that it's torqued. And there it is. It's officially torqued down. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the belt on. You're probably wondering, how are you going to put the belt on if this is a bigger crank pulley? The top adjuster does adjust, so I'm going to have that adjusted. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. All right, so on the back, there's 14mm nuts on this particular adjuster. So I had loosened them up, and then there's an adjuster bolt that goes up top here, and I took it all the way out so that way it could adjust where it needs to. And the belt seems to have plenty of tension, but not too much tension, so we shouldn't have any belt slip issues or anything like that. Everything's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that bolt back up, and that's pretty much it. Now it's ready to start up. Okay, now that everything's tightened, we made sure the bolt is not left in the flywheel or anything like that. I've had that happen before. It was a very humbling experience, to say the least. Belt tension looks good, so I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up and we'll take it for a spin. Even at the lower RPM range, I can hear it. It sounds really good. Okay, so I got it all together last night, went ahead and did a data log run just to find out it was only making 1 PSI. So here's the little video clip of that. Video clip was of it making 1 PSI. I was kind of confused because it still pulled pretty good, I thought. I changed the map sensor out and thought maybe that's what it was. So that wasn't what it was. So I decided to look down at the bypass valve down there, and it was actually pinched. It was very weird how it was set up. I don't know if it was a mistake I made, probably, but I went ahead and took the supercharger off. I didn't do video of that. I was just trying to figure out what was causing the problem, and I got it put on there properly. And now the bypass valve is working properly. So here's a video clip with me just fixing the bypass valve. So you can see, totally different, way faster now. It blows the tires off like crazy, and that's what I expected the day I pulled it off the dyno, but I just thought, well, this is how the setup's responding to it. So I was only on 1 pound of boost that whole time, which is crazy. So with that being said, we headed back to the dyno at AGN to see what it made, and here's the results. Okay, so here it is. The first run file was run file 17, made 297, and then he had to adjust the fuel and stuff, makes 301 now. The blue file, as you see, has a little bit more power in certain areas, but it drops off a little bit on top end. That was because it was leaning out. After he added more fuel and made it safer, it actually lost a little bit of power when you add too much fuel, but it's safer this way. So that red file lost a little here, but it did gain on top end, so that is awesome. AGN Motorsports, definitely recommend him. His information's in the description. He's here in Killeen, Texas, and he makes sure to get the most power he can while safely getting it. He could have made more power with this setup, but that would push the limits of safety. I'm already doing that with the supercharger spinning at the RPM it is. By just putting that K24 crank pulley on there, it definitely is spinning at a higher speed. I think we're spinning the supercharger at 16,000 RPM. John Bond Performance actually gave me the math equation to figure that out. So it's spinning 16,000 RPM with this current setup, and this supercharger is only rated for 14,000 RPM. So I do have to back the revs off a little bit, but not a big deal. It'll still feel really good. He said that this will just make it not as reliable, so there could be an issue, but there's a lot more people out there that made more power than this on this kit. So I know I can make more power, but I don't want to make it unsafe. But definitely recommend Eric here at AGN Motorsports in Killeen, Texas. Again, his information is in the description. But I'm gonna head back to the house. We'll go over more when we get there, and I hope you guys are enjoying this video. All right, here we go. Wow, this thing's insane. I am super happy with those numbers. 301 is definitely better. A lot of people are asking me if I'm going to go E85 or stay on 93 plus the octane booster. I personally don't like E85, mostly because I go through it a lot. Every vehicle I've had E85 in, I get terrible fuel mileage, and I'm actually filling up more frequent using E85 than if I was to just use 93. I know it doesn't really make sense, but it's supposed to be more, you know, environmentally friendly or something, but I'm actually filling up more often. It actually costed me more money in the long run to run E85, and I'm just not not made of money. But either way, I will use the 93 daily because I have a tune for 93. It'll be good for that. And then when I go to the track, I will put the 93 plus octane booster tune on, which will make me at 101 octane. Those will just be for track days, so it'll work out perfectly in the end. But yeah, I'm really happy with this and well pleased with Eric's tuning methods. He made it safe but made it make power, and there's still a ton we can do to make even more power. They have an adapter here that smooths out the supercharger's intake flow. I already have an upgraded throttle, so I won't need one of those. I just need that piece, but it's like $400, so I don't have no money for that right now. But regardless, 9 pounds of boost is just the right number. That's what I wanted on this setup. We can also swap K24 cams in it to make a little bit more bump in power and do some port work. Like, there's still a lot we can do. With that being said, I do have to get some new brakes all the way around on this, so I have that kind of figured out. I have to get new CV axles. Once I get those, and then a steering component which will help keep the car straight on the road, because this thing has crazy torque steer, which I will go over all of that in an upcoming video. But again, huge shout out to Eric over at AGN Motorsports in Killeen, Texas. Does a phenomenal job, and I'm well pleased with his work. But yeah, it's definitely pulling exactly how I want it to now. There's definitely a difference from the K20A2 pulley to the K24A8 pulley. The K24A8 pulley, being just slightly bigger, did bump the boost level up from the 7.5 to a 9.4 or 9.5 PSI. So it definitely makes a difference. I could probably get a smaller pulley to go higher, but if I go any higher of boost, I have to get an aftercooler, which basically bolts right under the supercharger and has a small radiator that it circulates coolant basically through it, and it has an external radiator for it. But that's a really expensive mod, and I don't have money for that either right now, but I do have plans, lots of plans for this, and I cannot wait to get it to the track to see what it does going down the track. It is an incredibly quick setup, and it pulls really hard, so I am well pleased with this. Well, that's basically it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment below, and share the videos around. Because of you guys, the channel is starting to grow, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you for helping. This is why I do the content, for you guys and to spread the good news of Jesus Christ. So I pray you guys have a wonderful day, and definitely stay tuned because we have more to come. So I'll see you guys in the next one, and as I like to say, God bless, stay safe, stay awesome.